I always thought my success would be enough to keep me safe. But no one ever tells you how quickly loyalty can be thrown away. Anna Thompson, 32 years old, tech entrepreneur, staring at the empty office desk in front of her. She had spent the last 8 years building TechCore Solutions, a company she'd poured her blood, sweat, and tears into. From the rundown office in Brooklyn to becoming a major player in the tech world, Anna had sacrificed it all: her youth, her time with friends, weekends spent working late instead of enjoying life. But now, it all seemed like it was for nothing. She thought she was untouchable. After all, she had built it, she coded the software, designed the business model, and led the team to success. But that was before Mr. Harris walked in. A man who had been the new CEO for just 3 months, someone who barely knew the company, yet already made up his mind about her. Anna sat at her desk, looking out of the window at the bustling streets of New York. Her phone buzzed, pulling her away from her thoughts. The message was from Mr. Harris. "Meet me in my office, urgent." She felt her stomach drop. This was it. She had felt the shift in the air for weeks, the whispers in the hallway, the subtle distance from the leadership team. She had been expecting this. But somehow, even when you expect betrayal, it still hurts. It still feels like a punch to the gut. Anna took a deep breath. She stood up, and with each step toward Mr. Harris's office, she felt her heartbeat quicken. Her thoughts swirled. She had prepared for this moment countless times, but nothing could truly prepare her for the cold reality of betrayal, the sharp sting of rejection. As she reached his office door, she pushed it open, feeling the weight of the moment. Mr. Harris was sitting behind his sleek desk, his face impassive. No greeting, no warm welcome, just the chill of authority. "Anna," he said, without even bothering to look up, his voice flat. "We need to talk. We've decided to go in a new direction. I'm sorry, but your position has been eliminated." Her chest tightened, but she didn't flinch. She stood still for a moment, the words not surprising her, but the way he said them cold, emotionless, felt like a slap. She wasn't just being let go, she was being erased, wiped out like she never mattered. She exhaled slowly and then spoke, her voice steady, yet simmering with the anger she had buried deep inside. "Is that so?" she asked, her voice calm but with a quiet storm beneath. "After everything I've done for this company, you just let me go?" Mr. Harris didn't even look up as he shuffled papers in front of him. "We need fresh blood, new ideas. You've done your part, but we need someone with a bigger vision to move this company forward. And, frankly, you're not that person." Anna didn't feel the rage she expected. Her emotions were a whirlwind, but she stayed composed. It was like she had been waiting for this moment for so long that now, it was almost too easy to accept. She had spent years working for this company, pouring herself into every line of code, every meeting, and every decision. But now, it was as if all of that was nothing more than a fleeting memory. She didn't say anything at first. She let the silence settle between them, just long enough to make him uncomfortable. He looked at her, still not fully understanding what was happening. As she turned to leave the office, a cold clarity washed over her. She stopped just before the door, and without turning back, spoke the words that would set everything in motion. "You may have kicked me out, Mr. Harris, but you'll soon see you can't run this company without me." She walked out of his office, her footsteps echoing through the quiet hallway. The feeling of betrayal still stung, but deep down, something had shifted inside her. She wasn't done. This wasn't over. In fact, it was just the beginning. That night, I sat at my desk, staring at the email from Mr. Harris, reading it over and over again. It was cold, formal, and impersonal. I had been eliminated. My position had been canceled, as if all the years I spent building TechCore Solutions meant nothing. I picked up the phone and dialed the number that had been haunting me for weeks, the number of the legal team. My heart wasn't racing anymore. Now, it was steady, calm. I wasn't a victim here. I was about to take control. The phone rang once, twice, then someone picked up. "Anna, it's Sarah from legal. Is everything all right?" I took a deep breath, making my voice as cold as the room I was in. "We need to talk about the software license agreement," I said, pausing for effect. "It expires next week, and I'm in control of it now. If anyone wants to keep using it, they're going to have to talk to me first. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. Anna, are you serious? I didn't know you held? Now you know, I cut in. I'm not going to play games anymore. I'm the one who decides whether or not this company survives. Tell Mr. Harris I'll be expecting him tomorrow. I'm done being overlooked. I hung up the phone before she could say another word. Control. It was mine now. The next day was a sharp contrast to the day before. The office felt different, heavier. There was anxiety in the air, like everyone knew that something was shifting. But they didn't know exactly what. The usual morning greetings were replaced with sidelong glances and whispers. I could feel the weight of it all, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't even angry. I felt empowered. I walked down the hall, my footsteps echoing, louder than usual. Today, I wasn't just another employee walking in to do my job. I was the one in control. It felt strange, almost surreal, but it was mine, and I was going to make sure no one forgot it. Mr. Harris called me into his office again. His voice sounded more strained this time, his usual composure slipping away. Anna, we need to talk. There's been a system failure. It's bad, really bad. We need you to help us fix it. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him shuffle papers on his desk. He was trying to maintain that sense of authority, but it was clear he had lost it, and now the game was mine. You need me? I repeated, letting the words settle in the air. Funny, because last I checked, you were the one who got rid of me. Now you want my help? He looked up, his face a picture of desperation. Please, Anna, this isn't personal. We've always had a great relationship. This is about the company. We can't do this without you. I stepped forward, my voice low and firm. I know the system. I built it, and I'm the only one who can fix it. But don't mistake my help for charity. If you want my expertise, it's going to cost you. I'm not coming back as an employee. I'm coming back as the one who decides the future. The room was silent. His words were stuck, and for a moment, I felt a surge of satisfaction. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about getting even. It was about reclaiming what was mine and making sure they never forgot who really ran things. By the time I left his office, it was clear. The company was in a crisis, but it was the kind of crisis I could control. They needed me, and I had no intention of letting them forget it. That afternoon, the legal department sent me a response. They had received my email. They wanted to meet, and they were ready to negotiate. But I knew they weren't negotiating with the same power dynamics anymore. I had them right where I wanted them. I read the email carefully, a smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. They were offering terms, but I had more leverage than they realized. I wasn't just going to accept their terms. I was going to reshape the entire deal. I leaned back in my chair, tapping my pen thoughtfully on the desk. Mr. Harris thought he could push me around. But the truth was, he needed me more than I needed him. And I wasn't going to make this easy. The next day, the tension had thickened even further. The air felt like it was charged with electricity. Everyone knew that something big was about to happen. I received another message from Mr. Harris, this time more desperate than ever. Anna, he said, almost pleading, we'll give you whatever you want. We can't afford to lose everything. This is about the future of the company. I couldn't help but smirk as I read his message. He didn't get it. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about saving face. It was about power, and I was the one who held it now. I sent my response cold and to the point. I'll help you. But understand this. It's on my terms. You'll have to do things my way if you want this company to survive. The tension in the office had reached its peak. The company was on the edge of collapse, and I was the only one who could fix it. Mr. Harris's desperation had become almost palpable, but this wasn't about saving him. It was about saving TechCore Solutions and taking control of my destiny. I walked into the office, my footsteps echoing through the hall. Every part of the building seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the storm that was coming. Mr. Harris was already in his office, a stack of papers in front of him, his face pale. He had finally accepted the truth. The company needed me more than I needed it, and he wasn't happy about it. Anna, he began, his voice trembling. We need to talk about the system failure. The company is falling apart without it. Please, we can't continue without you. I stood in the doorway, unmoved by his pleas. The man who had fired Meth, man who had dismissed my contribution to this company, was now begging me for help. I couldn't help but feel a wave of satisfaction, but I didn't let it show. I told you this was coming, I said, my voice steady but laced with a sense of authority. You can't run this company without me, and now, you'll have to do things my way if you want to survive. His eyes flickered with a mix of panic and frustration. We need your expertise, Anna, he pleaded. This is bigger than just software. We need you to guide us. The system, the operations, everything falls apart without you. I crossed my arms, standing tall. Everything depends on me now, doesn't it? I asked. But you're forgetting one thing. You don't have control over me anymore. I'm the one in charge now. And if you want my help, it's going to cost you. Mr. Harris looked at me, his face ashen. He had no idea how to respond. He wasn't just losing control of the system. He was losing control of everything. And I could feel the power shifting toward me with every word. The room was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he pulled out a contract from his desk drawer and pushed it toward me. What do you want? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I smiled, but it wasn't a smile of victory. It was a smile of calculated power. What do I want? I repeated. I want full control. I want the company to be restructured, and I want the board to acknowledge that I'm the leader from here on out. His eyes widened. Anna, that's too much. You can't just take over. The board won't approve. I am the board, I said flatly. If they want this company to survive, they'll have to follow my lead, and you'll have to answer to me from now on. The next morning, I was walking into my office as the new CEO. No ceremony, no fanfare, just a quiet, calculated move to take control of what was rightfully mine. The board had already been notified, and though I knew they hadn't officially approved the changes yet, I had already made the decisions. And it wasn't just about the software. It was about the entire future of TechCore Solutions. They would either follow me, or they would be left behind. Mr. Harris was nowhere to be seen. His desk was empty, and the weight of his absence hung heavy in the air. He had been vanquished, but not in a way that made me feel satisfaction. This wasn't about revenge. This was about taking control and doing things right. The executives filed into my office one by one, and I could see the unease in their faces. They were used to a different kind of leadership, a leadership that had now crumbled under the weight of its own arrogance. I want to make something clear, I began, standing up and facing the group. We are no longer operating in the old way. TechCore is about to change, and I'm the one who will lead this transformation. The silence in the room was almost suffocating. No one spoke. They were all waiting for me to continue, to tell them what the new direction would be. I could see the fear in their eyes, but I didn't feel the need to comfort them. We're going to focus on innovation, I said. We'll restructure, cut unnecessary costs, and start building the future of the tech industry, not just chasing trends. One of the executives, a woman I hadn't seen before, finally spoke up. And what about Mr. Harris? She asked, her voice trembling. What will happen to him? He's gone, I said, my tone final. And so is everyone else who can't keep up. The days following my first meeting were filled with back-and-forth negotiations, legal paperwork, and restructuring plans. The company was starting to feel the weight of change, and the resistance was palpable. But I wasn't backing down. I received a call from the legal department with the final agreement in hand. They had signed off on the terms. The deal was done. I had total control of the company. No more second-guessing. No more negotiating. Later that week, Mr. Harris sent me a final email. His words were full of apologies, full of attempts to fix things. But by then, it didn't matter. He had lost, and I had won. As I sat at my desk, staring at the skyline through the window, I knew this was just the beginning. I had everything I needed control, the company's future, and the power to shape it in my image. I wasn't going to let anything or anyone get in my way. TechCore Solutions was mine now, and no one could take it from me. The morning after I signed the final documents and officially became the CEO, The weight of the position felt heavy but exhilarating. I stepped into my office with a new sense of purpose, the city's skyline stretching before me. This was the moment I had been waiting for, but it wasn't just about being at the top, it was about creating something new, something unshakable. I looked around the office, now officially mine. Mr. Harris was gone, his things cleared out in a matter of hours. The board had no choice but to accept the decisions I had already set in motion. I wasn't just a replacement, I was the one leading now, the one making all the crucial calls. Mr. Harris had underestimated me, thinking I was just a techie, someone good with codes and systems. But I had proven that I was more than that. I was someone who could shape the future of this company. The first few hours were a blur of calls and meetings. As I went through the motions, I could feel the power I now held in every room I entered. When I walked down the hallway, the murmurs from the employees faded into silence. Everyone knew the change had come. I wasn't just walking through the halls anymore. I was the one they were answering to now. I called the first meeting with the executive team. As they filed into the room, I could see the mix of fear and curiosity on their faces. They had no idea what kind of leader I would be. They had known Mr. Harris, but they didn't know me. And now, they were about to find out. I stood at the head of the table, a calm authority in my posture. There was no need to make a grand speech. The room was already aware that I held the reins now. "We're not here just to keep the lights on anymore," I began, my voice steady. "TechCore Solutions is going to be the leader in this industry, and we're going to do it my way. I'm not here to preserve the past. I'm here to build the future." There was a moment of silence, but then a murmur of agreement from the executives. They were listening. Some were still skeptical, I could tell, but the rest? They were starting to realize that things were about to change in ways they hadn't imagined. "I'm restructuring," I continued. "We'll be focusing on innovation, efficiency, and expansion. If you're not on board with that, then you can leave now. But if you want to be part of this, then you need to trust me." A man who had been a senior VP stood up, trying to hide his discomfort. "Anna, this is a lot of change all at once. We can't just tear everything down. We need to keep the stability of what Mr. Harris built." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Stability?" I echoed. "You think staying stagnant is stability? I think it's just a slow death. We're going to innovate. We're going to take risks. We're going to make bold moves. And if you can't keep up with that vision, then I'm not the leader for you." The room fell silent. This wasn't the usual corporate talk they were used to. This was something new. Later that day, I walked back into my office. My desk was cluttered with papers, but there was something about it that felt right. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but there was a certain freedom in knowing that now I had the power to make real changes. I sat down, pulled up the company's strategic plan, and started drafting the first steps toward the new direction I wanted to take. TechCore Solutions was going to expand globally. We were going to create software that would set new standards in the industry, and we would be the ones leading the charge. But as I worked, the phone rang again. The name on the screen was from one of the board members. The tone of the call was different this time. The panic was gone, replaced by a kind of reluctant acceptance. "Anna, we've reviewed the plans," the voice said. "You've got the board's support. It's your vision now." I leaned back in my chair, letting the words sink in. They were finally on my side. It felt good, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. The company was mine, but there was still work to be done. The next morning, things took an unexpected turn. The finance department called, saying that some of the investors were starting to express concerns about the changes I was implementing. They wanted to speak with me directly. I met with them in the afternoon, walking into the conference room with a calm demeanor, but inside, I was calculating every move. These were the people who controlled the flow of capital in this company. If they didn't buy into my vision, everything I had worked for could come crashing down. One of the investors, a woman in her late 40s with sharp features, spoke up first. "Anna, we understand your desire to change things, but we're not sure these rapid shifts are in the company's best interest. There's a lot at stake." I nodded, understanding their concern. But I wasn't about to back down now. "I get it, but you need to understand this. I'm not here to play it safe. I'm here to build something that will last. If we don't make these changes, we'll be left behind." The room went silent as they processed my words. I wasn't just appealing to their business sense. I was appealing to their ambition, showing them that this wasn't just a chance to follow trends, it was a chance to set the trends. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the woman nodded. "All right, Anna, we're in." By the end of the week, I had achieved what I needed. The company was mine, and I had the full support of the board and investors. The restructuring plan was approved, and the first step toward revolutionizing TechCore solutions was underway. I stepped into my office, looking out at the skyline once again. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city. This was my city now, and the world was waiting. I wasn't just a techie anymore. I wasn't just the woman who had been fired. I was the one who would reshape the future. And this was just the beginning. The next few days were a blur of meetings and decisions, all revolving around the new path I was carving for TechCore Solutions. I had completely changed the game, but I wasn't blind to the challenges ahead. As I sat at my desk, reading through endless emails and documents, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the verge of something huge but also dangerous. Mr. Harris's absence was deafening. The team had already felt the shift, but I knew it wasn't enough. It wasn't just about taking over, it was about proving that I could lead this company into the future, faster and stronger than it had ever been before. Late that afternoon, I received a message. It was from one of the investors, Carolyn, who had been hesitant about my changes. She was one of the few who still had questions about my direction. The subject line read, "We need to talk, Anna." I immediately called her. Her voice was tight with concern, but underneath, I could hear the tension in her words. "Anna, we've been monitoring your progress, and there are still some major red flags we're seeing. You've been pushing hard, but we need to make sure everyone is on board with these changes." I leaned back in my chair, the calmness in my voice masking the tension I was feeling. "Carolyn, I know what I'm doing. TechCore is on track to double its value, but we need to be bold now. These changes are necessary. The old ways won't work anymore. We're stepping into a new era, and you have to trust me." She hesitated. "I don't know. This feels like we're moving too fast. I want to support you, Anna, but there are a lot of people who are nervous." I smiled to myself, feeling the full weight of the situation. "This company will rise or fall with me, Carolyn. If you want to make history, you have to take risks. I'm not afraid to do that." The silence on the other end was thick, but I could feel her resolve cracking. "Fine," she said, finally, her voice resigned. "We'll back you, but you need to make sure we're all on the same page." "Don't worry, Carolyn," I replied, my voice steady. "We are." The next morning, the news of my final decisions spread like wildfire through the company. I had approved the restructuring plan, initiated layoffs, and reallocated resources to new, innovative projects. There was no going back now. But the pushback from those who had been loyal to the old regime was starting to feel like a storm brewing. I could feel the whisper. Some employees were afraid, others were frustrated, but I knew this was part of the process. Change was never easy. I walked into the boardroom later that afternoon, prepared for a confrontation. The room was full of top executives, and their eyes were locked on me. I could feel the tension in the air. They were all waiting for me to make the next move. One of them, Greg, a senior executive who had been with Mr. Harris for years, was the first to speak. His voice was low, filled with uncertainty. "Anna, we need to talk about this restructuring. You've made some big moves, but I'm worried about the long-term impact. We can't just keep pushing people out without a plan." I didn't flinch. I wasn't here to be popular. I was here to take control. "Greg, this is the plan. We're focusing on innovation and efficiency. Some people are going to be left behind, but that's how progress works. You either adapt or get left behind." He clenched his jaw but didn't respond. The room was silent, and I could feel their eyes shifting between me and Greg. They were starting to see it. This wasn't just a passing moment. I wasn't temporary. I was here to reshape everything. But just as I thought I had them on my side, the tension reached a breaking point. Carolyn, the investor who had supported me, sent me another message. She had spoken with the other investors. They were concerned. I had made some decisions too quickly. The company was in turmoil, and they were starting to question whether I was moving too fast for comfort. I sat in my office that evening, my phone buzzing with messages from various team members. It felt like the world was pressing down on me. I had won the battle, but now the real war had begun. There was a serious divide forming, and I had to act quickly to ensure the company didn't fall into chaos. But I wasn't afraid. I had fought too hard to get here to let a little pressure break me. Miss Harris's legacy might have been gone, but the future was mine to shape, and I wasn't going to let anyone stand in my way. I closed my laptop and stood up, looking out the window again. The city lights twinkled beneath me, but I could already see the future. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I was ready. Tomorrow, I was going to make it clear to everyone in this company. I wasn't just in charge, I was leading them into the future, and they would follow, whether they liked it or not. The days after I signed the contract were a blur of activity meetings, new hires, restructuring plans, and countless negotiations. But the feeling of control never left me. I had not only taken back what was mine, but I was reshaping the future of TechCore Solutions. It felt surreal to walk into the office every day and see how far we had come, how quickly things were falling into place. The fear, the uncertainty was gone. What was left was a new beginning, a company ready to take the world by storm. One evening, I sat at my desk, the soft glow of the city skyline shining through the window. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed, had led to this moment. I was no longer the woman who had been pushed out. I was the CEO, the one who controlled the future, the one who had earned the respect of everyone in this company. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about empowering myself and proving that I could take control, not just of my career, but of my life. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom. The room was quiet, the same executives sitting around the table, their faces now filled with respect. They had seen the change. They had seen how far I had taken the company. But this wasn't just about being in charge. It was about showing them the vision I had for this company and how we were going to make it bigger, stronger, and more influential than it had ever been before. "We're not just another tech company," I began, my voice steady and confident. "We're a movement, and it's time for us to leave our mark on the industry. The future is ours to define." The room was silent, but I could feel them all watching, listening. We make the future, we lead the way, and I'm not going to let anyone stand in our way. That was the moment they all realized that the old TechCore Solutions was gone. In its place was something new, something bold, and I was leading it. This journey has been mine, but it's not just about mates, about anyone who has ever been told they weren't enough, anyone who's been pushed aside or undervalued. If you've ever faced betrayal, if you've ever been told you couldn't, this story is for you. Don't let anyone define your worth. Take control and make your own path. If you believe in fighting for what's yours, standing up when others doubt you, and changing the game, hit that like button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who needs to know they can take charge of their own destiny. Subscribe to our channel for more stories about empowerment, overcoming adversity, and seizing control of your life. The journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning.